Hey, this is Clayton Olson, and I'm here with Mike Goldstein. And Mike Goldstein is a one-on-one dating coach for women who's been featured on the Today Show, the Star Ledger, Reader's Digest, and Shape Magazine. Now, the great thing about Mike is that 83% of Mike's clients enter relationships during coaching, and he currently has 100% client satisfaction. So if you'd like to learn more about Mike or his practice after this interview, his website is www.easydatingcoach.com. Mike, how are we doing today?
Oh, man, I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes,
How are you?
yes. I'm doing very well. Getting started here in the morning. It's 9 a.m. where I am, and you're, 11:23, is that right?
Yeah, man, I'm awake. I'm ready.
Yes, excellent. So what we're going to talk about today, which I'm really excited about because, over the last 10 years, this territory has been evolving more and more, is the online dating world. And you seem to be the expert in that field. And I'm really excited to dive into some of these topics today.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. So a lot of clients that I've worked with sometimes there's some hesitation around online dating. And maybe 10 years ago, there was this kind of almost like stigma against it. If you're online, you shouldn't have to meet somebody online. We should be meeting people the natural way. But it seems like that's changed over the years. And I'm curious, have you seen that trend as well? Is it in your world with clients? I mean, is that how people in the majority of time are meeting people these days?
Great question. So if we look over the last 3 years, I'm big on data, not on opinion. 3 years, 35% of marriages have been from online dating. So yes, a lot of people are doing it. Yeah. But I also keep stats on when I talk to people, and literally 95% of people do not love online dating. So you're talking about people being hesitant and frustrated. Yeah. Well, they're not alone. Yes. Online dating can be a pain in the butt.
Yeah. And I know from personal experience and also talking to some friends and some clients that it seems like it can be a lot of work because there's a lot of different things to get set up and it's not necessarily intuitive. Like, what do you use as a profile picture? What should you say in your bio? And I'm hoping that you'll be able to give a little bit of direction on this call with that.
Yes, I can definitely help you with that. And just to kind of explain how I'm able to do this, yeah. I'm not that smart, but I am really good at getting information and getting data. So I work with 3 different major online dating companies, and they've actually sent me all their data for what causes people to message, who gets more messages based on what bio, what profile, what pictures should look like, what pictures get the most messages. So everything we'll talk about is purely data-driven. There's no my opinion getting involved. Everything's fact-based.
I love it. Okay, great. So let's actually start at one of the questions that I get the most often from clients, really high level. What online dating site should you use? And when we identify that, I'm curious as to why should we be using that one? Because there's a number of them out there.
Absolutely. So my favorite is OkCupid, and I'll explain why. First of all, OkCupid is one of the first sites, which is a traditional site that has the long profile and the message and just has a big presence to it. Then you look at like Bumble, Tinder, which is a swipe app, or Hinge and all those other ones, and there's not much infrastructure there. And what I mean by that is there's not a big profile, there's no match percentage. So first off, I like the big ones because everyone's very busy today. And if you're going to go on a date, you want to know if the date makes sense, assuming you're looking for love. I work with women that want love and marriage and a lifetime commitment. So anyway, if you're going on a date for Bumble or whatever, you could potentially go on 200, 300 dates because you don't know enough information. Versus a traditional or tier 1 online dating site like OkCupid, you can get a lot more information. Now, why specifically OkCupid? It's because the guys who created it are very smart. They're both from Harvard, and they created a great algorithm that actually works. So if you look at the match percentage on OkCupid, you can actually, if you go on a date that's 90% or higher match percentage, 85% of the time you'll have a good conversation on that date. Now, say you're going to fall in love, but imagine 85% of your dates you're having a good conversation. Well, I've found that with that coupled with some other things, you really only need to meet 6 to 8 men to find someone you like and then potentially get exclusive with. So it's a lot more efficient if you're trying to, find a life partner.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And the 95% match rate, how many questions go into that algorithm where they start matching you? Is it 10, 20? Is it a couple hundred? What's that look like?
Awesome question. I would invest some time on that and actually answer at least 200. And also, when you're really curious about a certain guy, you should see how many questions he's answered in common. And if he's got at least 80 questions in common with you, well, the data's got some substance. But any less than that, and you may want to take the data with a grain of salt or the match percentage with a grain of salt because there's not enough data points for it to be that accurate. Okay,
got it. Yeah, and just immediately when I hear that 85% of people that go on a date with somebody that's a 90% match or over have a good conversation, I think that's one of the major sticking points of online dating, right? Is I have no idea who this person is. I don't want to end up spending an awkward half hour with them. And this is kind of a fail-safe against that, right? Just go on a date with somebody that you've matched with and you're almost guaranteed a good conversation. Beautiful.
Yeah, totally right.
So moving from, okay, so we've got the site. OkCupid is definitely one to start with. And when you're now building your profile, how should you select profile pictures?
Oh, great question. So there's a bunch of things. First off, make sure there's no one else in the picture with you. Men are extremely jealous. I don't care if you've got your brother in the picture. Yeah. We're assuming the worst. We're thinking that's your lover, and we don't like to compete. Not at all. So no one else in the picture. And certainly, you also don't want to have other women in the picture, or especially pretty women. So if you have a really attractive friend and she's in the picture, well, that's bad news. If you do need to have someone in the picture, just because you don't have any by yourself, make sure the other person's really ugly, so that frame of reference you look better. In terms of strategy, next, make sure the picture is as close to square as possible, and you're in the center of it.
Interesting.
Data has shown, and I don't know why, but if you're in the middle and the picture's square, you get a lot more messages than everyone else.
Wow.
And then fun fact, the number one biggest way to get messages is actually when you have a dog in the picture with you. Interesting.
Yeah. Huh. So have a pet. It communicates that there is, it also sounds like a talking piece. I imagine that if I am online and I see a woman with a dog, it gives me something to begin a conversation with that it seems very easy. Asking about the dog's name, the relationship with it. Yeah. It's a great tip.
Make it easy. Yeah, definitely a lot easier.
Okay. So we've got some great guidelines for creating getting some profile pictures up and running. Now, how about the bio or the profile? So if you're going to be writing something about yourself, what should that look like?
So quick step back on the photos. So you want to use as many photos as possible. Sorry, I forgot to include this. And then also the mix of photos. So OkCupid lets you use 10, so get as close to 10 as possible. Unless you're at 9 and number 10 is a little shaky, then just stay with 9. Okay. But 80% of the photos should be where you look absolutely stunning. So then 20% should be where you're doing something cool. So here's the story. 80% is like, oh my God, I need to message this woman. She's so attractive. And then 20% is, I've got this beautiful woman. Now, if we had a life together, we're going to do all these fun things together. We're going to travel. We're going to bike. We're going to go on walks around the city. It's going to be fabulous. So that's the story we tell with our photos. And now you said you wanted to talk about the profile?
Yeah, and before we do that, you brought up a really good point about this 80% where you look stunning. Do you recommend that women get professional photos done? Does that matter with really good lighting? Do you have any data around whether that's a good strategy or whether they should just have a friend take some pictures of them where they look good?
I'm so glad you asked this because there's a misnomer out there. There's a myth that if you have professional pictures, you don't do well, and that's completely wrong. Professional pictures perform better than non-professional. But there is a caveat. When you do have professional pictures, I would suggest having about too non-professional so that the person knows that you're a real person.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, that's I can see that in my mind. That would be a question that I've got if I just see professional photos. They might be like stock images or something. So yeah,